I'm a believer that this team's going to win the national championship.
Something stupid is coming out of his mouth. I don't know.
Maybe it's just my age. He needs his vote pulled immediately. And of course, yes, a season like this has to have a name.
Let's talk about something good about Justin Freck. What are you doing?
Season of dreams. Ohio State, my guys, are either the best or the second best program in the history of college football.
This guy is a bonehead. They love him.
I question your judgment as an adult. I really do.
I was a total hater. I know that for a fact, and I just don't get it.
Get us back our sleeves.
And say, bring me that. That's the one I want. And welcome into Juck on Bucks on a Monday with my guy, KD. It's been too long, brother. How you doing?
Dude, it's been way too long, and I'm better now. I got my tea. I got Juck. It snowed, so I'm in Akron. Dude, there's so much snow on the ground.
It's wild out there, bro. I was buried this morning. I kind of love it. It looks great. It's one of those days where you're like, yeah, man, I'd like to sit home all day and just putz around. And look, I love the way the sun looks off the snow. It's just gorgeous. It's way better. So I was out in California last week for the Rose Bowl. Overrated weather, bro. My wife whined the whole time. Like, this is not nearly as hot as I wanted it to be. She's wearing pants. Yeah. She had a sweatshirt, but a shocking game, bro. And I was thinking, I had a 16-hour travel day home. We had a medical emergency on the plane. It was like the movies. Calling for a doctor. Is there a doctor on board? It was crazy.
But it wasn't you having a medical emergency.
No.
On
the plane. And anyway, it turned out to be a really, really long day, which is okay. You know, it happens. But I had a lot of time to think. And I was thinking about the single most shocking results we've ever had as Ohio State fans in my lifetime. And I think obviously 2006, the national championship game against Florida was shocking. A great team beat us down. 2018, Purdue, a lousy team beat us down. The 2025 Rose Bowl, based on the fact that we had already played that game earlier in the season, I think the result that we saw in the Rose Bowl is the single most shocking game I've ever witnessed in my life. What do you think?
I think so. I mean, in terms of like a win, because I thought that 06 team was the team that God sent down to take over everything. So, but again, like I was a kid when that game was being played. Right. But this game was the most shocking win, I think. Like I thought, and I told Sam this, and I think we talked about this too. I thought the Ohio State Oregon rematch was going to be like a classic, like going to be like one of those tight games. In fact, if someone like held the death beam at me and was like, "What's more likely, this game going into overtime or this game being a blowout?" Someone said maybe going into triple overtime or a blowout. I would have said it's more likely it goes into triple overtime. Like that's how evenly matched I thought these teams were. And Birch coming back for Oregon and having Trayshawn Holden hopefully not spit on somebody. I thought that this was just going to be a very, very good game, and it wasn't. And I don't know how you felt watching it live, or if you watching it while you were there. But the TV, it felt really early that these two teams were on different levels entirely. And it was kind of bizarre to watch.
I turned to her at 14-0 and I said, "Babe, we get one more score here in the next possession. This is over." And she was like, "You're getting cocky." I'm like, no. You can see it. These are two different teams right now.
Did you go back and watch the TV copy?
Oh yeah.
Dude, did you see the moment they cut to Dan Lanning's face when it's like 20-0? Shell shocked.
Bad look. And I want to talk about Oregon moving forward. But that was a bad look to have on TV. I think everybody caught that. I saw a lot of people talking about that. Certainly not the look you want to have. And he got absolutely de-pantsed. His team got de-pantsed. That was one of those losses that could potentially set you back. But I think we both have opinions on that, and we'll get there. But I want to talk about JJ first. I feel like what just happened was JJ finally crossed over into kind of the national college football lexicon of, okay, everybody understanding now the Ohio State fans weren't just full of crap. This is actually that dude, and we should just enjoy this. I kind of feel like that's what happened after this game. Are you getting the same kind of vibe I'm getting with that?
Yeah, he's crossed over because he was already like the avid college football fans kind of understood how good he was. He's crossed over into a bigger than the sports star in terms of like now NFL. Like people who really only follow NFL and don't follow college football all know about JJ. And we saw this happen one time before with Trevor Lawrence. Like as soon as he had his big performance against Alabama as a true freshman, they won it all. You started to see the NFL people, the NFL shows talk about if he was draft eligible today, he'd be the #1 overall pick. And so you start to enter the household name for NFL homes, not just college football homes. And nationally, he's going to be recognized as a bigger than life superstar in terms of talent. Like he's now, acknowledged as right now. Like today's narrative about JJ McCarthy, or not JJ McCarthy, Jeremiah Smith, is that he's the single best talent in the sport.
Right.
And he's going to become the single best player in the sport if he's not already. And everyone's catching up to that now. When Ohio State fans, we knew it really early. So.
I think the difference is we don't usually get this in football. I mean, you referenced Trevor, but there's always that what if with quarterbacks that we just don't know how they're going to translate.
Right.
When we talk about a wide receiver, like we know what he does is going to translate in the NFL. And I was trying to think back, like when's the last freshman we saw where it was like 100%, like I'm looking at that guy thinking that guy has everything it takes to be an NFL Hall of Famer. And I went all the way back to Adrian Peterson. I think that was the last guy we saw as a freshman that it was just obvious if that guy didn't get hurt or get his career derailed, he was going to be an NFL superstar. And growing up in Akron, as you did, LeBron, a couple years younger than me, like we've talked about this for a while, how it's felt very similar to us. It just feels like it's now hit that next level. And
it feels identical. I've said it since I think week 2. The feelings I get watching Jeremiah Smith are the same feelings I got watching young LeBron in high school and in his first stint in Cleveland.
Without a doubt.
It's the same exact feeling.
It really does. It feels identical. Obviously we've talked for a couple of years now about the ridiculous NIL packages that get tossed out to unproven high school kids. In the culture we live in right now, Jeremiah having 2 years of college left, like people were talking early this season, somebody's going to come try to steal him away. And I kind of poo-pooed it. But at this point, he is worth so much to a program. I'm wondering if we're not going to start hearing some rumors about some ridiculous money being thrown his way to jump ship. I don't think he will for anything, but I'm wondering if we're not going to start hearing something like that pretty soon. And when we hear one, we might hear a couple.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to hear it. I think, fortunately for Ohio State, the teams with the unlimited pockets, quote unquote, I'll call it, are teams that I don't think are options. I mean, think about it. Like that kid's not going to leave for Oregon now, and Oregon's one of those schools with the unlimited pockets. But you just beat the brakes off them bad, and you see how big of a gap there is from the Ohio State team than there is the Oregon team. So that wouldn't happen. USC, they also have unlimited pockets, but that place is falling apart and just lost their 2 guys that honestly they outbid Georgia for, but it didn't matter given the state of USC in terms of the Branch brothers. So those are the 2 schools with the unlimited pockets. And then like the other school with unlimited pockets is Texas. And it's like you're not going to go to a school that you beat because optics still matter. So honestly, I think it's pretty fortunate that the schools with unlimited pockets are all on the quote-unquote hit list for Jeremiah Smith in Ohio State. Now, stuff will get floated. It'll always get floated because he is a generational talent, and right now we're in lawless college football. But he's not going anywhere. But some numbers are going to get floated out there. And honestly, it's going to be good offseason topic when they do get floated out there.
For sure, for sure. You and I were both 10 toes down in the preseason about what we think this Oregon program is and what it's building. A loss like that can really set you back, can be devastating. They kind of squashed the narratives throughout the season by going undefeated, beating Ohio State, narratives about can't win the big one, win the Big Ten in year 1 and go in. And if that had been a close loss, I don't think anybody would have thought twice. But the way they lost, there's a lot of people now pointing, laughing. They were frauds. They're fraudulent. If you said, I got to bet $100 on one team outside of Ohio State to win a national championship in the next 5 years, I am still putting that $100 on Oregon. I believe in that staff. I believe in that infrastructure. Has your opinion changed at all since that game?
No, I think Oregon's going to be just fine and be all right. It they just got outclassed by an Ohio State team that had a lot to prove, and a coach that I think finally learned from his mistakes, and that's just the buzzsaw that Oregon ran into. I think that it's a buzzsaw. I think that honestly, it's like the not to compare these two to this is the Big Ten version of Kirby and Nick Saban. Like, no matter how many times Nick Saban beat Kirby, I never thought to myself, oh, yeah, like Kirby and them are going to fall apart. And I think I feel the same way about Dan Lanning.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely a bad look. And, we got a lot of Oregon fans around here, and they're all cool to deal with. And I felt bad for them reeling, looking for excuses about the time off and the layoff. And it's just they ran into a team that was the team that we thought they were forever. And just never showed us. And then all of a sudden, they've decided to come out and play some offensive changes, some different aggression, and all of a sudden, look, that's the team it was all along. They just never had a chance, man. This team right now, this Buckeye team, is the best team in football by a mile if they're playing like that, and it's just not close. It really isn't. The Rose Bowl, I think, was so important for the Buckeyes, just in the landscape of the Big Ten, with Oregon having beaten them, potentially going on to win a national championship, with Michigan winning the national championship last year. To have two recent Big Ten national championships, neither of them be Ohio State, I think would have been pretty devastating heading into the offseason right now. That game was just enormous to get over that hurdle, just in terms of the Big Ten standing. I think whatever happens from here on out, obviously, Buckeyes are still under the most pressure to win this national championship.
Correct.
Of these programs. Like, there's no doubt about it.
I think Texas, now the pressure is even more, Juck. I don't know how you feel, but I feel like the pressure is even more now to win a title because you've won what I call the national title game.
Right. We all did, right? Yeah. Yeah, we all did. If we look at Notre Dame, I mean, they're playing with house money. They just got that win over Georgia as a win they've been starved for 30 years. Penn State has just not completed, they're still in it, but this is now their most successful season they've had under James Franklin. They've won 2 playoff games and earned their way now into the Final Four. Sark has improved every single year, and now having won 2 playoff games, I think going up against Ohio State and losing right now would still be kind of a feather in the cap, still on the right trajectory. Everybody's feeling good in Texas. I think Ohio State is the only team that comes out with a negative taste in their mouth right now, and Ohio State fans, should they lose. So I do think all the pressure is still squarely on the Buckeyes.
Yeah, I think so too. But just because, like, you've passed the hard part of the test.
Right. The hardest. It should have been.
Yeah. Because I think that Oregon team is the hardest part of the test. And it almost works out that you got them earlier too, I think. The same way I felt in 2014 when we beat Bama in round 1.
Yeah. Yeah. When we look at this time period, Chris, you and I love this story. I think from the end, not the end, from leading into the week of the Michigan game, listening to Ryan Day talk about the game, talk about how bad it was for him personally, bringing up his father in that conversation, in that interview, to the performance in the game, both coaching and playing, to the fight after the game, to the dialogue in that 2.5 weeks from the game to Tennessee, which I contend was the angriest of my life during the Cooper era. We didn't have social media, and we just talked to the people around us and read the newspaper. That was the angriest I've ever seen it in my life. The nastiest tone. To the Tennessee game with 30,000 opposing fans in the shoe, which was still disgusting to me. And then out of nowhere, the team we got. Like, we are living in right now the most unique, drastically wild period of Ohio State football of my life. It's hands down the wildest period ever. Like, that turn of events from the depths of despair to what we're at now, it's I've never seen anything like it in all of college football, let alone to us.
And it's the ups and downs that you usually get in, like, the NFL world. But in the NFL world, you could justify it with, well, everybody's a pro. But I can't Chuck, here we go. I can't remember a time where I felt this confident about an Ohio State team. But I also can't remember a time where I felt so low in an Ohio State team as I did right after the Michigan game.
Right.
And that is the oddest, like, dichotomy I've ever had to deal with as a fan of Ohio State.
Yeah.
Because usually, like, all the flaws that lead to losses, like, usually every flaw that leads to a loss at Ohio State, either we see coming or isn't a shocker to us.
Right.
And so it's weird to see those two. Like, if someone, like, 30 years from now were to play the Michigan game from this year and the Oregon game from this year, like, to someone who wasn't an Ohio State team, they would sit there and say, oh, these are 2 different years.
Without a doubt. Without a doubt. It's bizarre, bro. It's bizarre. And I want to remind everybody watching, appreciate you guys so much. Please like and subscribe to the show. Retweet if you're on Twitter. Help us get out there. We appreciate you guys. We're never going to know for sure what led to that Michigan game plan. I know I have theories. We all have our theories, which, by the way, guys, I'm not seeing in the comments and seeing a lot more people say we threw more against Michigan than at Tennessee. Like, if you can't see the difference in the passing attack in those 2 games between Michigan and Tennessee, I'll give you some numbers. Michigan, 0 throws, 20 yards downfield. Tennessee, 5 in the first half, 4 completed with an average depth of target of 28 yards. Unbelievably different approach from Michigan to Tennessee. So stop making that argument. You look silly. But it wasn't just that.
It's like when you're not taking any downfield passing attacks and, like, on every 3rd and 6 plus, you're just running into the teeth of the defense. Like, it's so different. It's so different.
The argument was bothering me a lot. Like, I kept seeing it in my comments. Like, this is a false narrative. They threw more in the Michigan game. Yeah, well, technically, yes, they did. Let's also remember that you shut down the entire offense against Tennessee in the entire second half because you had already boat raced them, right? So you're obviously going to have less pass attempts, but one of those things where stats can mislead you. But it wasn't just that. It was the entire running attack that changed. Chip Kelly, Mr. Inside Zone. The offensive line could not do it against Michigan. So he comes out in Tennessee running gap scheme, running a ton of counter, kept it up through Oregon. It's almost as if they went back to the drawing board with the run game and made substantial changes before the first playoff game. And the pressure, the tenor around the program, the attitude of the fan base after the Michigan game, I think directly led to this big change offensively. And if you win that Michigan game 21-14, I don't think you roll the dice on that kind of bold change heading into the playoffs. What do you think? Do you think honestly, I think they still could beat Tennessee and Oregon with the way they were playing. But to change your whole offensive run game heading into the playoffs, that's a bold, bizarre move.
I mean, I think that loss was the breaking point for the players to spill over into the coaches' world. Because, I mean, even Ryan Day kind of said that, like, these players held us accountable. And I think that loss caused a spillover, because it's one thing for us to sit here and shout and complain about the play calling and complain about the rotation and complain about who's getting the ball. It's another thing for those guys to go into those meetings after you lost to Michigan, and you have to prove to these guys and to these young players that they should have trust in you moving forward. And the way to do that is to finally learn from your mistakes. And I saw the flip from Ryan Day after that game, because before, Ryan Day was trying to be a be right guy. And I'll always say it. It's always about being right.
Yeah.
The more important thing is to get it right. And I think that loss forced him to realize, okay, I got to get it right.
You're right. And I mean, credit to those guys for that meeting. It's, we talked about that meeting after it happened. There was a lot of people downplaying that and didn't think it really went down and thought it was a bunch of rumor. And now they're talking about it openly in press conferences. The guys are talking about that meeting.
No, it happened, Juck. It 1,000,000% happened.
So the meeting happens, and I think you're right, man. It was a wake-up call today. Like, I got to be accountable to these guys. They made some drastic changes, but if you win that game 21-14, I don't know if it happens. I don't know if you catch this lightning in a bottle like it feels like they got. I want to pivot a second, bud. We are lovers of all things college football. Now, when the last 5 years or so, Georgia's obviously stood at the pinnacle of the sport. And I always got really irritated when it felt to me like people were just kind of passing the Nick Saban crown on to Kirby. I didn't think he deserved it. I thought that was incredibly just kind of wishful thinking to think that he was somehow going to ascend into a Saban-like figure in the sport. And now what we've just seen with Georgia, some people call him this Kirby's best coaching year. I totally disagree. I think it's just the opposite. I said it from the beginning of the year. This Georgia team didn't feel right. Kirby did not have it in him to snap his fingers and get them back together. I thought that there was an element on the team that did not disrespected Georgia football and everything about it. And the shine to me is off the program. The benefit of the doubt is no longer going to be there as we enter into the next season, where it's going to be, okay, it's Georgia, and then who else? Like, that to me is gone. And I also think it's totally pathetic to be in the state of Georgia and have such a difficult time trying to find impact players on offense. Like, that just blows my mind. But what do you think about the state of that program? Because I think they have took a serious hit this year.
They are at a tipping point. They don't have a quarterback for next year. They did just land the Branch brothers, but this year, you're right, didn't feel right the whole way. And this should have been a year for him to corner the SEC, and he didn't, and he was not able to. Now, did they win it? Yes. But did it feel like the dominant runs that we were kind of expecting from him? Absolutely not. My biggest fear was that when Nick Saban retired, that Georgia was going to be able to corner the market with the talent and go on a ridiculous run in the next 3 years. But now I just don't think the Georgia team is right. They look like a team that's won multiple national championships instead of looking like a team that's on the hunt for the next two, the way that all those Alabama teams were. Like, exactly. I was expecting to feel the same way I felt about when I watched Bama as I do about Georgia, but I didn't feel the way at all. Like, I went into the Notre Dame Georgia game thinking, oh, this is a win for Notre Dame. And Notre Dame,
we both picked Notre Dame. Yeah,
I picked Notre Dame. I didn't think it would be particularly close either. And Notre Dame is a quarterback that can't throw the ball down the field.
The Georgia fans were making fun of Tennessee that they lost to Ohio State, a team that can't beat SEC teams, and then Georgia went out and lost to Notre Dame, bro. I mean, that's 34 years.
The ultimate we can't win big games team.
Right.
Like, we never win anything. Years.
As far as the SEC goes, obviously a bad year. Even their fans are now admitting it, which I find it goofy to be a fan of a conference, but their fans are admitting it. As we look at that conference moving forward, Alabama, big question mark. I mean, we can't say for sure they're going to remain at the top right now. We don't know. LSU, always a wild card. Ole Miss, they're always going to be Ole Miss until they prove they aren't Ole Miss. Tennessee, I think, is closer, but they still got a ways to go before they're a national championship contender. I still think right now, with the Texas program being in really good standing, and Georgia just by nature of the rest of the conference not being so great, those are still the two top programs as we enter into next year in the SEC, and they're not incredibly impressive. When we look at their counterpart in the Big Ten, Ohio State, Oregon will remain at the top of the conference. And I think looking forward, the Big Ten still has the upper hand as we move into next year with this.
I want to do one at some point. Do you have a theory on the SEC and kind of the direction that they're heading as the reason to why?
I've actually got some figures to share with you here in a minute. Yeah.
Okay. I'm really curious where you're at with that, because I think the SEC is teetering. I don't think Lane Kiffin is capable of winning any big games at Ole Miss. And I think before it was getting excused because you were in a conference with Nick Saban and Kirby Smart. But then this year, when you had a chance to elevate to kind of be that second SEC team, you lose to schools like Florida and Kentucky, one of them being at home.
Yeah. Pathetic.
Like I think the SEC without Nick Saban is the Big Ten with a Southern accent.
We've said it for a long time. Like, could this be really what this is? You know, we've said it for a long time. Obviously, they've got a footprint, and this will lead me into what I'm going to share with you here. They've got the footprint where most of the great players are from, right? They've got the dense collection of talent that they can get. And as everyone knows, who's even just a casual observer, you used to be able to hoard this talent, and you can't anymore. And I was looking and trying to find, because you and I were talking about, let's really buckle down and dig into rosters in the middle of the Big Ten, in the middle of the SEC, and kind of see year over year how this talent dispersion has gone. But I got a very basic baseline figure here. I was looking last night that I think can kind of illustrate this a little bit. So I looked back in 23, 24, and 25, and the amount of teams not in the SEC that were in the top 25 of the recruiting rankings. So non-SEC top 25 of the recruiting rankings averaged about 12 teams. Now, in that same time period, 23, 24, 25, when you look at the portal rankings, there are 17, 18 teams not in the SEC that are in the top 25 of those portal rankings. So we're seeing teams that can't get it done in high school recruiting are now being able to get it done when you add that element in the portal market. And that combined with being able to fill gaps from the FCS, I think has played a much bigger factor than it's being given credit for. Not just being able to go get some of the talent out of those SEC schools, but to be able to plug holes relatively easily from accomplished FCS players up here in the Midwest. I think that is something that, we look at Logan George for Ohio State, like guys like that. Yeah. Those are big time things for schools like Wisconsin that come out with, they have 6-7 holes they got to fill immediately. They got established FCS guys all around that they can just boom, and immediate upgrade. And I think it's those things right there that are really making a big difference in the middle of the Big Ten.
No, I agree. I mean, the ability to kind of plug and play and make sure that you don't have so every team is going to have like their quote unquote weaknesses, but the portal offers the ability for them not to be glaring weaknesses, right? At least if you identify it as a coach and go after it early, because there's a lot of good football players out there and a lot of good football players that end up playing at levels that they should be playing above. And I think that absolutely helps the Big Ten. And honestly, I think the Big Ten likely has better developmental coaching because they have to do better at evaluating and developing guys. Because they don't have the talent pool and all the spring football and all the extra, resources that schools in the South have in terms of high school football wise. So I think that just overall, there's just better coaches up north right now. And there's no like turnaround. Like if you have like a really good player, a really good unit and that unit leaves, you don't have to wait 3 or 4 years to replace that unit. You can like patchwork together year by year while you get guys ready. And that's always going to help kind of the middle tier of the Big Ten.
And it's so much more fun. Like everybody enjoys it more when it's not, there was so much SEC fatigue. Yeah. And you could feel how much SEC fatigue there really was when they just got destroyed in bowl season. The amount of the rest of college football who just piled on and fans from other places to get their pound of flesh on the SEC. You could see their reporters and their like defenders really they couldn't believe it. They could not believe that people were coming after them so hard to kind of throw dirt on their grave. And it's almost as if they didn't understand how flipping obnoxious they've been for the last 20 years. Like they were just oblivious to it. Like they didn't understand that this has been getting crammed down our throats for 20 years. And everybody was ready to just unleash. And they did. And it was really funny to watch.
Yeah. No, couldn't. I mean, you've summed it up. That's it. I mean, that's the clip. That's it.
When we look at this Final Four, KD, I contend, I fancy myself a bit of an amateur college football historian, but I contend that what we've got here are the four, since 2014, this is the four most historically relevant teams we have ever had in here when we're looking at 3 of the 8 blue bloods in Ohio State, Notre Dame, and Texas, and then Penn State, who falls in that next 4 up category after the 8 original blue bloods. And I think that right there makes this not only the most historically relevant Final Four we've ever had, but this is an ultimate uniform matchup. Ohio State, Texas, Notre Dame, Penn State, everybody's. Now, I rank them, KD. Ohio State number 1, Texas number 2, Notre Dame number 3, Penn State number 4. Where do you fall on the uniform matchup here?
I'm probably about the same. I might flip Notre Dame and Penn State. I like Penn State's uniforms a little more than Notre Dame's, to be honest.
Okay, Penn State's that's a love it or hate it. A lot of people.
Yeah, I like Penn State's uniforms. To me, they're like very like clean, like classic clean, and sometimes like the gold and the blue doesn't go well with like my fashion taste, I think. But maybe that's just me. Like I'm Mr. I like my I don't know.
No,
I like my blues, dude. Personal. I like my blues a lot.
Yeah. Okay. I dig it. When we look at helmets, obviously I really like helmets. There's no secret
Yeah.
there. My number one helmet in all of college football has a caveat. My number one helmet in all of college football is the Ohio State football helmet, but it must have 50% covered by Buckeye leaves. Without that, it's not my number one helmet. So
I think the Buckeye leaves make the helmet to me.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. It's gorgeous. By the way, I got a piece on that this week. I know a lot of you guys have been talking over this year and last season too, at the decrease in the amount of Buckeye leaves. There's been there's been a lot of people who have alleged that there are less Buckeye leaves being given out. And I've got some good pictures. I think that can kind of sum it up that it is in fact true. It's a true thing. So we're going to go over that this week. But Mike, Chris,
the quarterbacks at Ohio State used to have both sides covered.
Well, it wasn't just the quarterbacks. Every high caliber player would have both sides covered this time of the year. So I've got some clips, some pictures through the years to kind of show that the criteria has definitely been changed, and I don't like it.
Yeah, it's been changed, especially like when you see like Jeremiah Smith's whole helmet not being covered. It's like, okay.
Yeah, I don't like it. I know there were some people who for a while there didn't like it, thought it was getting out of hand because there was too many guys who had the full helmet. And I think there's a comfortable balance here, but right now I don't like where they're at. But Mike's got something for us, KD. Mike Green, thank you so much, buddy. Juck, can we please let people know that JJ was wide open from hitting that safety from Oregon with a double move and not because of broken coverage? That's absolutely correct. JJ ran straight on him. He got the DB, the safety, to turn his head one way, and then JJ just went to the right, and he was 30 yards clear from everybody.
Well,
it was beautiful.
He planted that, like, he's running a full speed. Again, he's 6'3", 225. He planted his left, it looked like, at the outside shoulder of that safety. And so the safety, knowing how fast you are, you have to turn that way if you think he's going to go that way. And so no matter what the safety did, because if the safety wouldn't have run that way and JJ did go that way, it would have looked like busted coverage as well. Like, he's just so fast and can change direction, so, like, put that foot in the ground and go, that he broke him off so bad that it looked like a busted coverage, but it absolutely wasn't. It absolutely was not a busted coverage.
It was not. And the pre-snap motion and getting JJ in the slot is what made it, that they schemed that so that he would be on him. It was a beautiful play. Absolutely perfect play. So thank you, Mike. Appreciate you, buddy. I think this playoff in this first year, obviously we got some kinks to work out with the seeding, but getting this Final Four, a Final Four that doesn't really feel maybe as unbeatable as, we used to have Final Fours where it would feel like there were two teams that were just head and shoulders above everybody in college football all year long. When we look at these four teams, everybody's had warts throughout the year. We can point to any one of these four teams and give, like, let's say a Penn State fan right now can have hope that they can beat everybody in this field.
Right.
If you're a casual observer, you can have hope that, Ohio State's the favorite to win this, but we've seen other Ohio State come out, and this is going to be exciting for everybody because we're not seeing these Death Star teams. Ohio State looks like that right now, but throughout the season, like, a couple of Clemson renditions and some Alabama teams that from the beginning of the season, we just knew it was all just ending one way, and that's all it was going to be. I think this makes it so much more exciting like this.
No, I agree. Obviously, like, Ohio State does feel like the quote unquote Death Star team, but I always compare it to, like, the second Death Star when it looked incomplete and still blew something up. But even the Death Star got blown up, So I think that matters for the Star Wars reference. But I think the fact I think what's making this exciting, Juck, is trying to figure out, is this just a new Ohio State team, or did they just get really, really hot? And if it is the latter, them just getting really, really hot, can anybody left slow them down? And I have fun in that because you're going to get everybody's very best punch already because you're in the postseason. But teams know, like, I have to be at my absolute very, very best to keep up with them. And maybe my absolute best can't beat their absolute best, but that Michigan version, that Nebraska version is somewhere in there. You're
right. It is. It's it's a very interesting case study. It's something we've not often seen. A team look one way for, a certain amount of games, but have the talent to be able to. That's the thing. You got to have the talent to be able to flip a switch and be this good.
Correct. I mean, if you flip a switch, you haven't paid your power bill in 2 months, it doesn't matter.
There you go. Right. But they clearly got the talent. I'm somewhat concerned. All right, what happens if you come out and things aren't working great early? If your aggressive approach gets shut down early, do they turtle up and revert back into what we've seen the majority of the season? Or do they trust in Will to be the dude and just keep the pedal to the metal? Like that.
What's your thought on that?
I'm done. I'm done trying to predict anything this staff's going to do, bud. Like, it's over. I'm just making myself look foolish at this point. So I'm just like, all right, I'm just gonna break down what they did after the fact, because these guys are ridiculous, man. I can't figure them out. But I'll tell you what, the post-mortem on this season is going to have us talking for a month and a half. It's going to be like a 4-chapter series just going over this season. It's been so eventful. It's been so wild from the preseason. It's the most fun I've ever had. And I don't know if it's just because I'm talking about it every single day. But I really think that it's one of the most entertaining, unique Ohio State football seasons we've ever had.
Without a doubt. I mean, they have a chance to win a natty, Juck, and the chip is going to stay on Ohio State's shoulder because they're going to win a natty and still have the big goal of beating Michigan next year.
It's actually could work out to be a positive thing in that way. You're right.
Yeah. That's where I'm taking my fandom.
Yeah. I was asking, I did a little poll question. I got a picture, actually. I asked the Buckeyes, who do you want to win between Penn State and Notre Dame? Who do you want to make it to the national championship? And I didn't, there was no caveats like who would be an easier matchup or anything. Just who are you rooting for? Who do you think out of 500 people the Buckeye crew is rooting for to win that game?
Out of the other side?
Penn State and Notre Dame.
I'm rooting for Penn State, but I can't give a real answer. Like, honestly, like for the brand and for college football, like it'd be better if Notre Dame won. That way, like Ohio State in one season, plays Michigan, Texas, Oregon, Notre Dame, Tennessee, and Penn State. And that's like a crazy, crazy group.
Six playoff teams. If Notre Dame gets there, Ohio State would have beaten half of the entire playoff field,
which is crazy. So I think like for their case is like a historic team that matters. But honestly, like I can never, ever, ever, unless they're playing Ohio State, not root for Penn State as long as Drew is there.
I feel similarly. I am also rooting for Penn State. Notre Dame won 53% of the poll. Really, really close. It was really close. And that kind of surprised me. But I feel the same way. I'm also rooting for Penn State. Not just, there is a little bit of I think that the matchup with Ohio State and Penn State, or with Ohio State and Notre Dame, would be a cooler national championship game. It has more storylines to it. Two of the top 4 programs in the history of college football. Like, it has more to it. But I'm rooting for Drew. Everybody knows this is a Drew zone here. Drew Aller's our buddy. And he's the man. I really think he can pull through. I think they can do this. I'm actually picking Penn State to win the game. Do you have a pick on that game? Are you?
I'm picking them. I love Riley Leonard. I think he's awesome and fun to watch, but I don't think it's conducive to continue to win. Like I just don't think, like, he literally can't throw the football downfield.
It's bad, man. It's bad. And I've, watched some of the coaches' film rooms with him, and it's even worse when you watch it like that. And
can I throw this up real quick, Juck?
Yeah.
Kris rooting against Franklin or Freeman during Black History Decade. See, they're both.
Bro, congratulations.
Thank you. Yes, 2 black coaches on one side of the bracket.
Black History Decade, and KD gets for sure a black head coach in the national championship game.
In the natty, it's gonna happen.
And then you're gonna have to root against him. And then you're gonna have to root against him in the national championship game.
Yeah, just quite a way for this year of Black History Decade.
Yeah, I'll be damned. Look at that. That is awesome and ironic that you're going to have to root against whoever makes it.
I am glad that joke has stuck, by the way, because I started that like I think 2 years ago.
Black History Decade.
Yeah, because I think it was when it might have been in a March, and I made a reference to like Black History Month, and everyone was like, "Wait, it's over." And I was like, "It's never over," and that's how that came to be.
Right. I'm so impressed with Marcus, bro. Marcus is such a, you listen to him behind the mic. I mean, he's humble, but he's strong. He's a leader of men. You know what I mean? Yeah. He's just got it all. He's handsome. He's articulate. He's just got everything that you would ever want. And now he's got a team in the Final Four already. It's a real testament to him. It's a testament to Notre Dame for taking a shot on him. As hot as he was as a DC, that was still a big stretch for Notre Dame to hire him as the head coach at that age without any head coaching experience. It's worked out beautifully. And I mean, I think that they're now a player for years and years to come on the national level. And it's something they've wanted for so long. And I'm happy that it's a Buckeye doing it. Despite the comments he's made, I think he'll come around in the next couple of years. We'll see.
How did you feel watching him outcoach Kirby? Like during those moments, like the moments of him like square jawed, definitely chewing on it, and Kirby just like complaining. What was going through your head?
I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it because I hold Kirby in such high regard and things like that. Like I think that he is just the best of the best tactician. Like he really is. He always seems to pull the right buttons and push the right buttons at the right times in games like that. And seeing that, I mean, it was just he totally embarrassed him. He embarrassed him. It was beautiful. It looked like, all right, this dude just graduated to the next step as a coach. And I don't think anybody can take anything away from him anymore. Like the dude is legit. I don't want to hear anything about NIU, like whatever, man. This dude is legit. He can absolutely win a national championship this year. And moving forward, if you follow their recruiting, like these guys are legit now. Like they've got dudes going to Notre Dame. And it's not just the starting lineup. They used to have a good starting lineup. You lose somebody in a big time downgrade. I went to the Alabama Notre Dame National Championship in Miami in 2012. And looking at those two rosters on the sidelines, you had Notre Dame's starting lineup somewhat looked like Alabama, and the rest of them looked like a high school team. It was so stark that as soon as you saw it, you went, oh no, this isn't going to work. And of course it didn't work. But now it isn't like that anymore. They go deep. They go real deep. And they're now a force to be reckoned with for sure.
No, they're a force. And it's good for Midwest football, them being good.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's really good for Midwest football. And like Notre Dame fans have gone through a lot. And it's good for them to finally notch a big win and have a coach that feels like he can raise the ceiling. Because always the complaint was when they didn't get it done was, oh, well, we're at our ceiling. That's why Brian Kelly left. And now like Marcus Freeman is showing, no, look what he's doing down there in the SEC and what I'm doing here. The ceiling here is a ceiling as it is everywhere. And I'm not going to make excuses or live by that. I'm going to go get the best players. I'm going to assemble a team. I'm going to play this style of football, and we're going to be able to win games.
Brian Kelly having LSU sitting where they're sitting and Notre Dame sitting where they're sitting right now currently after the comments he made about that. I mean, it's just it's just so Brian Kelly, bro. It's so Brian Kelly.
It is. It's not me. It's the school.
Right. It's awesome. But as we look at these guys, man, somebody's joining the KIRBY-DABO club, right? Mm-hmm. When I'm looking through these guys like KIRBY-DABO and Sark, I could see it.
Okay.
KIRBY-DABO and Marcus, I could see it. The ascending star. KIRBY-DABO and Ryan Day feels like it should have already been that way to me.
I mean, all four coaches left don't have a national championship, so someone's going to get their first one this year.
KIRBY-DABO and James Franklin is the only one that doesn't. I can't see it, bro. I just can't see that rolling off my tongue. That's the only one that would be just kind of shocking to me. Of course, Dabo's a bit of a joke now, but man, he was awesome back in the day, right? So, but it is interesting, and it's kind of bewildering that there are only two active coaches who have won national championships. Yeah. Somebody joining that group, and I think it's going to be amazing if that somebody is Ryan Day. And I'm rooting so hard for the dude. Obviously, he's the coach of the Ohio State Buckeyes. But, you know, I love the story, man. What this guy's been through this year, like that would just be unbelievably amazing. And when you saw him come off the field, greeting his kids, greeting his wife, saying to his daughter, like, that was fun, wasn't it? Like, he's just such a normal guy in a field of psychopaths. Like, these dudes are crazy. And you got to be crazy to get to that level in coaching. You got to be a bit bonkers. And he's got so many more normal tendencies than most of them. He's maniacal as well. He's crazy as well. But there's so much more relatable and normal about him than a lot of these guys. And in a way that makes me want to root for him. And I felt so good for him in that moment, bud.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I'm here with you. I'm here with you, Juck. I'm just like having thoughts about the rest of the playoff field and like what it's going to mean after we crown a champion. But Ryan Day, it feels like he bounced back. It feels like it feels like he's getting right. And so I'm happy for him in that front. And it feels like he's trying to now do things for his inside circle rather than his outside circle. And that's something that I obviously complained about him a lot. And it feels good because at the end of the day, like, we know Ryan Day's a good dude.
Mm-hmm.
So it feels good watching this good dude get a shot at kind of cementing himself as one of the sport's best coaches, if he's not already cemented in some people's eyes.
I feel like you've got bubbling below the surface. This guy has really infuriated the hell out of me this year, and I'm not ready to give it to him. And I get it.
Yeah,
I feel the same way.
That was my pause. That was my pause there because
I'm trying to keep it positive right now. I get it.
I know. And look, he's a good dude, and I hope he wins a natty, and I'm proud of him for bouncing back the way he did because obviously it was a minor setback to a major comeback. But I think when you were saying it, I think part of me is like, but Michigan.
I know. A little twist,
maybe,
yeah.
And I'm the Ohio State fan that maybe Nick Saban was talking about. Maybe it's me.
He's a jackass, bro. Like he
is.
He coached under Woody Hayes, bro. He knows what it is, man.
Dude, that's why it drove me so insane because I know how you came up. And one of my favorite clips is Chris Carter talking about Woody Hayes when everybody was there saying, "Son, if you lose me the Michigan game, I will kick you off this team.
Off the squad. I'll kick you off the squad."
And I'm like, Saban was there for that. And now he's telling me I need therapy. I do. Once a week I go, but still.
I find
you're
it
supposed
really
to need
bizarre.
therapy too.
It's bizarre, dude. It's bizarre that there's nothing as pure and delightful and unique about college football and college football fans as being insane over your rival. And the fact that we just listened for a month and a half of people trying to beat that out of college football fans, that's weird to me. You want all that you can get. Like, that's what makes it special. Anyway, I'm not having any of it. But if the Buckeyes do lose against Texas, KD, 1-1 against the SEC this year, 1-1 against Oregon, 0-1 against Michigan, 0-3 for the season goals, 0-12 for the vaunted senior class.
Mr. Positive.
I'm just saying, like, if you lose this game, let's get into Texas, though. They're trying to push the Quinn storyline. Sark's trying to play the little old Clemson thing. Like, we're such big underdogs. Like, none of it's working. When we look at Ohio State and we look at Texas, I think similar to Oregon, we've got another talent-equated roster. There's some areas where the Buckeyes are better. There's some areas maybe where Texas is better. But all in all, these are talent-equated rosters. And I actually think that Texas is so much better than the unit they're able to put together, that they're more talented individually than the team. I think that obviously we've talked about them all year. We've both been kind of down on them when they were the big dog and Georgia came in there. We both picked Georgia. They were 5-point underdogs. Like, we've not really believed in this Texas team all year. They continually underwhelm me on offense, and the way they play offense, I don't know is conducive to beating Ohio State. 33% of the time they're calling outside zone. That's bread and butter for the Buckeyes defense. Like, I don't see how Texas offense is going to be able to put up more than 24 points on a good day against this Ohio State defense. And on the flip side of the ball, I think the Texas defense is really good, but I don't think anybody's holding this Ohio State offense under 24. So that's kind of my first browsing at this game. What do I think will happen? What are your first thoughts about it?
They, Juck, kind of have a similar problem that Ohio State had. The talent that they had on the roster wasn't matching the production, and they haven't been forced to quote unquote snap into it. And so I think the only way this game becomes like a really, really competitive game all the way through, if you get the best version of Ohio State, is if Texas snaps into it too, because they are a team that's littered with NFL talent everywhere. I mean, shoot, they have a guy who got the claim to fame for best DB in America over Caleb Downs. They've got NFL tackles on that offensive line. They've got NFL dudes all over. And they do the thing where when one unit plays elite, two other ones won't. When the offense looks really good, the defense doesn't. When the defense looks really good, the offense will sputter. They're a team that is very capable in a game like this. If they're going to put their best punch forward and they've quote unquote already knocked off the rust and they're playing a bigger brand in Ohio State to bring their absolute A game. They've got some of that in them. We just haven't seen it from them this year. And if they do, again, this could be an all-time classic. But it's a big if.
Absolutely. I think what makes this so difficult to project forward is we just don't know what mentality we're gonna get out of Ohio State. We don't know what kind of game plan we're gonna get. We've seen such vastly different results in planning and run game in the last couple of weeks, couple of games than we have all season. And it's just so difficult to kind of project forward. But if that same Ohio State comes out and plays to 80% of what they played to against Oregon, against Tennessee, is a 14-point win. And I just I respect the hell out of Texas. I think they got a ton of potential. Like their wide receivers, and we talked about big talk yesterday on Twitter was JJ, because I retweeted that one Texas guy who said Wingo was a better prospect than JJ.
Oh,
so that was flying around. It was from the spring, but I've been roasting him all year about it.
Yeah, you've been sitting on it. Heck yeah.
Yeah. And I decided to pull it out now. So I pulled it out now, and the big talk was so they're all boosting up. Wingo's not playing because of Golden, because of Isaiah Bond, and they do have really good wide receivers. My point is, they're just really talented everywhere. They really are. Yeah. But they've also underperformed all year, much like Ohio State had until a couple weeks ago. And things are different. This Ohio State team at 80% is going to beat that Texas team. I think it's inevitable.
Me
and
too.
I can't wait to see it.
Did you see the line?
Especially because we play next year, bro.
Yes. Back to back.
Yeah.
Did you see the line move all the way up to what, 6.5?
Did it? No, it was 5.5 last I saw.
Okay. So I was with Sam yesterday recording. He was saying it was about 6.5. I know it opened up at what, 4.5?
Yeah, I couldn't believe that. What?
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah, dude. Yeah, dude. If you got that, congratulations.
Yeah, seriously. All day.
I got Ohio State winning though. If you were looking for my prediction, I think Ohio State wins. I think they win pretty convincingly, and I think Ryan Day finally exercises the Quinn Ewers demon.
The Quinn Ewers demon. Can we? I mean, RD is in. Is he in a better spot right now than he ever would have been at Quinn State? I would contend yes. I mean, Will Howard's the best quarterback in the playoffs. Quinn's clearly hit his ceiling. I don't think he's getting any better in college. What's his situation? Is he leaving next year? What's he doing?
I know there's some big money offers out there for him. He's not welcome back at Texas. It's like, you don't got to go home, but you can't stay here.
Yeah, I mean, you can't stay anymore. I'm surprised in a lot of ways that there hasn't been more Arch playing throughout. Like,
right,
that's some serious testicular fortitude by Sark to not play Arch with all the pressure to play Arch all year long. 100%. It really is. It's kind of impressive.
I go coast to coast. I think Quinn could end up at USC, at North Carolina. I'm sure Georgia's going to kick tires on him. I don't think Ohio State will kick tires on him.
No, but do you know what is so funny? Lincoln Riley in the offseason and USC made this this concerted effort to sink their teeth in Georgia. They had 5 stars from Georgia committed, and it was their big campaign. Their fans were making graphics of like the mall was Georgia and Lincoln was pulling into the mall to shop for his goods. That all goes bust. They lose all the recruits and then lose their best player to Georgia. I think it is so, it's just a snapshot of this is Lincoln Riley's USC, man. And it couldn't happen to a nicer guy. There's nobody I enjoy clowning more. I just love it.
He's so smug, man. I don't like Lincoln, dude. No. I don't like him at all.
Tough to like.
But he does need to get it together, bro. Well, maybe not anymore. I was concerned that if he never got it together, that Oregon would be able to like corner the whole West Coast.
You're right. I mean, it is better that that both of them are fighting, you know. And,
you want them to split talent.
Yeah.
Instead of like one guy getting, because like Oregon has no recruiting base. I think they have 1 4-star and they have 1 top 600 player in the country there. So it's like they don't really have a lot of talent in Oregon. So like you don't want Oregon to be able to like go attack Washington and California without really being contested. So
this is why I feel like, you know, like Oregon, the position they're in, and that's absolutely right. They have no talent. They never have in the history of college football had, you know, this kind of talent in the state of Oregon. You got to get creative. And they've also got the distance issue, and that's what's kept them down for so long. So to be able to do what they've done, I think is incredibly impressive. Being so remote, like that's always the hurdle, the distance hurdle that they couldn't get over. The money has now helped them get over that hurdle. And they've done awesome. They're on to big things. But for the record, KD rooting for Penn State and picking Penn State to win on Thursday, as well as Ohio State on Friday. I also have the same picks, and that's all we got, guys. KD, thank you so much, my man. I appreciate you for joining me. It's been too long, buddy. We'll have to do it again soon.
Yeah. We need to go get a meal somewhere, man. We live too close not to.
Absolutely. Let's make that happen.
Yes, we will.
Make that happen real soon. All right, brother.
Yeah.
Thanks so much. Hey, enjoy your day at home with the snow outside. It's a beautiful day. All right.
Absolutely.
Later, buddy.
Bye.
I removed the wrong guy. And my man KD, always enjoy having a conversation with him. Thank you guys so much. If you could please like the video, and if you're not subscribed to both Menace to Sports and Juck on Bucks, we would really appreciate if you could do that for us. We've got some super chats to get to. Thomas Ridley, thanks so much, buddy. Appreciate you. Coaching staff eyes are now open to their talent. I mean, it's true. At the same time, it's annoying. You know what I mean? Like, we were all eyes open to the talent all year. You know what I mean? So, but I get it. Yeah, they are now. And all that matters is now, right? This is all that matters. Nothing else that happened before matters. At the same time, still a little irritating. Thank you so much, Thomas. As a vet, would love a book from Day about the turnaround. That would be awesome. I think it would be difficult to get the full story in a book, but that would be awesome. Maybe in 25 years, we'll see one. Should it go the way we all want it to? General Chrome 499. Thank you so much, buddy. Hey, Juck, we have to be easier on Fry now, don't we? We've been pretty hard on him, buddy, and he's killing it now. Go Bucks, let's win this thing. That last part, go Bucks, let's win this thing, is going to keep me from commenting on the former, because and I'll just leave it at that. I am very proud of the offensive line's performance right now. I am very proud of the group and the way he's playing. It ain't all perfect, guys. It's not. They've changed the entire offensive run scheme to work around this offensive line. Like, they changed the entire scheme, and that is working. And the dudes are playing their butts off, and they're doing good. So absolutely, credit where it's due. looking out long term, again, I'm not going to have this conversation right now. You guys know how I feel. Ryan Day himself, 51% of that man's job, per his boss, is the talent acquisition part, is the recruiting. Nothing's changed in that avenue. In fact, you've brought in 2 tackles, you've lost 3. You're literally down a number still. Like, as this is all going on, you needed tackle bodies. You wanted to bring in 4 or 5. Like, you literally have your net -1 on tackles right now. Yes, you've upgraded the talent, but the room is low on big bodies. It has been. That was the issue, and you're now -1. I can't believe you even did this to me. I wasn't getting into this for a reason. My own guy does this to me. Unbelievable. All right, guys. I appreciate you so much. That will conclude Juck on Bucks on a Monday, my first live show in forever. And I appreciate you guys so much. Please do like and subscribe. It helps us out a lot. We're doing great at Menace Sports, at Juck on Bucks, and having a great time doing it with you. We'll be back shortly. Probably do another live show on Wednesday. I think I have a recorded show that I have to do for tomorrow. And then Thursday, for the Notre Dame Penn State game, I think what we're going to do is hang out here. I'm going to go live during the game and maybe pull up some stats and kind of call and talk the game as we watch the game together, just so we can talk about it, because I've not done that before, and it sounds like a lot of fun to hang out with you guys while we're watching the game. But thank you so much, everybody who tuned in. Boy, the numbers have been bananas lately. I really appreciate you guys, man. It's really cool to see how many new folks are stopping in to say hello, and welcome to all the Texas folks this week coming in to check us out. Appreciate you guys as well. Going to be a heck of a game. Can't wait for it. Talk to you guys soon. Juck on Bucks out. Hey, it's Juck.
Juck? Who is Juck?
Juck on Bucks.
Juck on Bucks.
Juck on Bucks?
Juck.
Juck
On Bucks.
My guy, Juck.
Juck on Bucks?
My buddy Juck.
Juck is the Juck.
It's Juck on Bucks.
Okay.
Juck is junk.
The Juckeyes.
The Juckeyes.
Juck on Bucks.
Junk. Juck. Not junk. Juck.